Good afternoon. It's the 18th of September 2025. My name is Bill Callahan and this is Fretboard Refugee, my YouTube channel. Today is Thursday, which around here is Theory Thursday. So I've been looking at this David Hamburger video called What If You're Learning Scales All Wrong? And I was planning on going over some of his stuff from that and trying to apply it to what I'm working on. The more I watch it, the more I realize that's actually a more advanced concept than I'd given it credit for, and I'm not quite up to that yet. But a couple things I did take away from that video that I'm going to share with you as I work through, we'll call it using a scale shape that you know to teach yourself intervals. So using scale practice as ear training, as lick construction, as whatever, based on a scale shape that you already know well. So the scale shape I'm going to use is the open position of the E minor pentatonic, because the root is right here on the open E string, the open low E string. That's our root. Third fret of that string, that's the minor third. Open second string, that's our fourth. Second fret, A string, I shouldn't say second string. Open A string, second fret of the A string. That's our fifth, which means that this open position on the D string, is our minor seventh, second fret of the D string. That's our root again. Obviously, two half steps up from D is E. So that's our root. Minor third, fourth, fifth, minor seventh, root again, minor third. Sorry, that was a little loud and shrill. So I'm using one of these fretboard map apps, not because I don't know the position, but because I don't want to screw up which number each note is. Now, that position of that scale is of course movable. Like all the positions, whatever you put that first note on is the root, and that's a particularly easy scale shape to move. So there's people who call that particular line, that in the case of the E is on the nut, they call that the pentatonic equator, because whatever key you're in, that is a reference point. So for example, most of us know that the fifth fret of the low E string is going to be an A. So if we wanted to do the A minor pentatonic scale, we don't need to look it up to understand root, minor third, fourth, fifth, minor seventh, root, and so on. But let's do this in G minor, which I don't hear a lot of people using G minor or playing in G minor. Perfectly good key, but that's going to be here. So root, minor third, fourth, fifth, minor seventh, root, minor third, fourth, fifth, minor 7, root, and minor 3rd. So let's take what we've just learned, let's take what we've just worked out rather, play through it a couple times and call out the roots. There's a root. There's a root. There's a root. All right, so where are our roots? Here, here, here. It's a little triangle, right? So anywhere you move this shape on the fretboard, like I don't even know what key we're going to be in right here, but that's going to be, whatever that is going to be the same as whatever this is. It's going to be the same as whatever this is. And that is actually a D, because we're 2 half steps down from E again, so should have known that instantly. But that would be the D minor pentatonic scale, and those would be the roots, the roots in that same triangle shape. Well, what about other intervals? Let's play all those minor thirds. All right, here we go. So that's our first minor third, fret number 6. So what do we know right away? Because we have 2 E strings, our other minor third's going to be right there. So anything that's on an E string is going to be mirrored on the other E string, always, by definition, a priori, if you're not in some kind of exotic tuning. So here's our 2 obvious locations of the flat third. All right, now where is our next flattened third? Let's not look it up, let's figure it out. We can either do that by counting through the scale or by finding our root. So where was our other root? Right here, right? And what's the next scale position in that shape? Right here. So are we right? Is that the same note? Let's count it out, or let's test it. Yeah. So we've got another triangle now, right? We've got this triangle interlocking with the first triangle. So if I'm playing this scale shape anywhere, say I'm playing it at the 9th fret, which is going to be C sharp or D flat, right? So there's my roots. And what about my flat thirds? Well, there's going to be 1. There's going to be 1. There's going to be 1. So no matter what key you're in, if you find the root on the E string, so if we're in G, these are the roots on the E string, you know that you can count 4 strings up. There's going to be a flat third. You can reach sort of 3 steps up, 3 half steps up rather, 3 frets up. I don't know why I didn't just say that. And there's going to be your flattened third. Well, what other notes are fun to play with for blues? Well, we've got the flat 7, right? So that's going to be, let's see, where is it on our, okay, we've got 1 here on the, right before the root, which makes sense. So 7th root, 7th root, 7th root. We've got, let's see, there's going to be 1 here. actually isn't another in this particular shape, but if we know where there's a root, we know that if we go back like literally 2 frets from that root, we're going to find that flat third. So now we've kind of looked at this in a way intervallically where we know where to go outside of the shape. We know what some of our jumping off points are. What else is an important note in the blues? Well, you've got that flat or, major or minor tension in the fifth as well. You could do a flat fifth. That's a, let's see. So, root, third, fourth, fifth. But that's the regular fifth. That's the flat fifth. Where's our next root? Next root is going to be here. So, third, fourth, fifth, flat fifth. Now, once you've got this scale shape down, once you know where those intervals are located, and you know it by heart and it's in your head, you can start using this for ear training. As part of a warm-up, for instance, you could be, all right, first, major flat third, that's what a first to flat third interval sounds like. What if you wanted to do, oh, here's a good idea. Let's use our other, we got this root here, right? What does root to major third sound like? Interesting. What does, let's see. Now I said, make sure you know it by heart, but I'm tired here. I've been up since 2 a.m. Let's, oh, yeah, that's a perfect example. What about the fifth? That's a very common interval in music. So, we got our any given root position. Then right above that next root, that's a fifth. Now let's say you're soloing. You can just like play up and down the scale. You can do like just geometric things within the scale. When there's any row of notes where the scale notes are on the same fret, I always like to go to this move right here, where that's always a safe bet because it just generally sounds good regardless of where you start. But if you want to be more intervallic about it, what are some ideas you can play with? Well, the octave, that's one. You know where the roots are. So, what else do we got? Well, we've got that classic blues motif of sliding from a flat third to a major third, or vice versa, or even through. So, let's say, so first, that third slide, fifth. sounds interesting. What if we change up the order? What if we go fifth? Doesn't sound as cool, but it's somewhat interesting. How about this? I don't know, but it's musical. I don't know if it works that well. What else can we play with? We can play with, we can play with this kind of thing here. So root, flat third, hammer on the major third. So that's interesting. How about, how about we pull off, I got an idea. We're gonna pull off the flat third, or the major third to the minor third. Or there's other kinds of slurs, of course, right? So, what if we take this right here, our flat third, and we kind of that's fun. As you're playing through your scales and trying to solo, you're going to end up doing this kind of geometric stuff a lot, and sometimes you're going to screw up and you're going to forget that there's not a note there, and it's going to sound weird. But it sounds predictable. It's kind of been my go-to for a while. The other thing I do a lot is sort of play, like if we're in A minor, I sort of play with this kind of weird little structure here where you got note here, note here, note here, note here, note here. A lot of B.B. King licks are predicated on that. So like a classic example is, I think it's in Thrill Is Gone, is you start with this this note here bended way up. The phrasing isn't quite like that in the song, but I kind of play with those particular parts of the shape a lot, and that's a different place on the scale. That's like, so if we're in G minor, kind of this is our shape here. We're kind of in that pocket here. So in G minor, that would be located around the 7th fret. So let's sort of play with that idea. Screwed that. So let's look at what the intervals are there. How is that working? Well, we've got this here is a 4th bent up to a flat 5th, or even a full 5th, depending on how aggressive you are with it. We drop down to the minor 3rd, back up to the 4th, then we hit the root twice. Then we're on the major 5th, or the regular 5th. Drop down to the 4th. We kind of go back and forth there a little bit. Then slide down here to the flat 3rd. You pick up, of course, a root. So that's kind of how that lick works in terms of intervals. So you can play with that in other shapes. So we went from the 4th to the 5th. Well, we started with a bent up 4th that was almost a 5th. So where can we do that in this shape? Well, let's see. Got this 5th fret of the G string here. Then we kind of jump up to the root, in this case this one. Or we could use this one. And then we find another flat third. Another flat third. How about here? So you can hear some of the same ideas. I mean, we're changing octaves, so it's not perfect, but it's a good place to just start screwing around once you have these things in your head and you want to play with phrasing. I don't know how coherent that all was, because that was kind of me learning as I went, taking a concept I applied from a video and trying to deal with it in real time and explain it out loud. I hope that was helpful. I know it was helpful to me. I think I learned something from that. So thank you for paying attention. I did my piece on my kind of FAQ on fingerstyle blues for beginners the other day. I think I got more views on that in 48 hours than I've gotten on anything else ever. I think it pretty much doubled the size of my channel. I kind of started this as something I was doing for myself and posted in a few random Facebook groups, and now I'm excited that people are getting something out of it, and I appreciate you for taking the time to look at it. I welcome any feedback, suggestions. Somebody pointed out last time that my fan was causing a drony sound and interfering, so thank you for that. I've got it moved way over there. Hopefully it does not disrupt this recording, but anything you want to tell me about sound quality, go for it. I mean, I'm open to it. I'm recording this on my phone. There's nowhere to go but up. So thank you very much, everybody. Please like and subscribe. Have a wonderful day.